Okay, well, welcome everyone to the UniFi 3.0 webinar. And again, apologies for those of you that had some trouble logging in. But we're glad that you could join us, and we're going to spend a little time talking about UniFi 3.0 release and our new 802.11.ac access point. We'll talk a little bit about some of the use cases that our customers have gone through, some of the new capabilities, and then maybe most exciting, we'll spend some time and do Q&A. So many of you, good morning everyone, and welcome to the UniFi webinar. And we're glad to have you. Apologies for some of you that had login difficulties, but we're going to get started now. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the new UniFi 3.0 release, some of the great new capabilities, give you some examples of what users are doing. And then most importantly, we're going to take as much time as we can to answer your questions. So hopefully you'll notice that you have a Q&A panel as well as a chat. And as you have questions, please feel free to use the Q&A. And we will do our very best to answer your questions. And we've got some of the members of our development team online, so we'll have a great opportunity to answer your questions. And for those of you that end up joining a little bit late, this session is also being recorded, so you'll be able to see anything you might have missed. So as I mentioned, we'll do a introduction and talk a little bit about who uses it. We're going to talk a little bit about the great 802.11.ac access point that is now shipping. And I'm happy to say that I'm joined by my co-presenter, Matt Hardy, as well as some members of the Ubiquiti team here, including some members of our development team. And they're going to help me answer some of your questions as we go through the presentation. So first of all, let's just provide a quick overview of UniFi. This is our scalable enterprise wireless LAN platform. And UniFi has a couple of very distinctive capabilities. The first is that it's a true enterprise wireless LAN platform and runs a centralized controller, which we'll talk about in just a moment. It uses the latest wireless technologies, and in fact, Ubiquiti was the very first company to announce an enterprise class 802.11ac access point and to ship it, which we're very proud of, and those products are shipping today. This product has essentially unlimited scalability and can control hundreds or even thousands of access points. It's based on extremely powerful hardware so that you can get high performance through each of our indoor and outdoor access points. We've put a tremendous amount of effort into our software capabilities, and we're actually going to give you some examples of some of the terrific capabilities we have in our controller software. And of course, the thing that Ubiquiti is known best for is our disruptive approach to pricing. And our access points typically cost somewhere between 10 to 20% less than the comparable products from most of our competitors. Let me just give you a quick overview of the options in the UniFi product line. We have 4 different indoor access points, beginning with the one on the left here, the UniFi access point. And that's an 802.11b or N single band 2.4 gigahertz access point. It is PoE capable, and it has a sort of a big brother, if you will, which is the UniFi AP long range or LR. That also is an 802.11bg or N device, but it has a slightly more powerful radio so that it has extended range and can go closer to 600 feet or 183 meters versus the sort of 400 feet, which is more typical. Also powered by PoE. And then we have a product called the UniFi AP Pro or UAP Pro. This is a dual band device, so it's 802.11a, b, g, or n, and it operates at both 2.4 gigahertz and at 5 gigahertz, and you can have simultaneous dual band use. In addition to being PoE powered, it actually will also operate on an 802.3AX or standard PoE. And then the latest release is the UAP-AC, which is our 802.11ac access point. So obviously, this product also dual band 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, can be used simultaneously and supports the A, B, G, N, and AC 802.11 standards. And that product is PoE powered using 802.3AT, so PoE plus. So those are our four indoor access point models, and you'll notice they all have the sort of distinctive Ubiquiti lighting, what we call our mood ring in the center. And then today we have two outdoor access points that are part of the family, the UAP Outdoor and the UAP Outdoor 5, and as the name suggests, the first one is a single band outdoor access point at the 2.4 gigahertz band, and the second operates at the 5 gigahertz band, and the UAP Outdoor is a B, G, or N device. The UAP Outdoor 5 is an 802.11a or N device. And also those devices are both PoE capable. So those are the 6 different access point options that are part of the UniFi product line. And then all of those devices can be controlled by the UniFi software controller. And our controller is a little bit different than some. Our controller is software-based, and as a result, it offers you a great degree of deployment flexibility. You can deploy the controller on-premise by just putting it on a PC. It could be a Windows, a Mac, or a Linux PC. But you could also take the software image and deploy it in your private cloud, if you have one, or using a public cloud service like Amazon Web Services. And of course, using this controller gives you a single point of administration. So it's a way that you can configure, discover, and configure devices. And of course, it provides a tremendous degree of both control and integrated monitoring and analytics. Now, you don't actually have to run the controller full time, so you can sort of run it in, if you want to think of it as almost like a passive mode where you run it as needed, or but if you want to take advantage of the sort of statistics and monitoring capabilities, of course, you would run it full time. And our controller has a complete set of hotspot and guest portal access and payment integration, et cetera, for those of you that are running a public-facing wireless deployment. So let's talk a little bit about who uses UniFi and just kind of give you some quick examples. The UniFi product is used by a pretty broad variety of different customers, lots of users in hotels and various types of hospitality or retail institutions, businesses, of course, of all different shapes and sizes. A tremendous number of users in campuses and schools. We have users who have deployed in apartments, or what are called multi-dwelling units, MDUs. You'll see in a minute we have a bunch of customers who have deployed this in public areas or in stadiums or as a part of a municipal Wi-Fi deployment. So a really broad range, and it really shows the versatility of the UniFi platform. So we'll just cover a few quick examples, and Matt, feel free to chime in here if you want to provide some color commentary. This customer is one of the most prominent universities in Ecuador, and they have deployed UniFi as the campus-wide standard for Wi-Fi access for all of their students, teachers, administrators, and guests. And across the college campus, they're supporting roughly 2,000 concurrent users, both indoor and outdoor, across their entire campus. Here's another example from northern Mozambique. This is a ministry, Iris Ministries, and they actually use a combination of Ubiquiti products to deliver Wi-Fi to a fairly remote site. So they replace their satellite deployment with a point-to-point wireless deployment using our AirMax product line. And then once they got broadband using AirMax to this facility, they used UniFi to provide wireless LAN capability across the campus. Here's another example. This is an architectural museum in Greece that deployed Wi-Fi for public access as well as for back office sort of office usage. And they're using UniFi to enable visitors to provide public Wi-Fi. This is an increasingly interesting use case because, as we all know, many times if you have a public facility, your users want to tweet, take pictures to post on social media sites, etc. And so this is a great way to provide public Wi-Fi access for any kind of facility where you have visitors. Here's a hospitality example. This is a 4-star business-oriented hotel in Peru, Hotel Estelar, and this is it's a 20-story facility. There's actually sort of an outbuilding on the same property, and so they use UniFi to provide wireless access for all of their visitors. And as a business-focused hotel facility, as you can imagine, internet access is one of the key amenities that the hotel provides, and being able to support not only for their hotel guests, but also their convention and meeting visitors, a full set of Wi-Fi capabilities is extremely important. And so their deployment uses about 78 UniFi access points today. Then here's sort of an interesting example in London with the Royal Military Academy, and they've actually deployed this across their entire campus, and they have about 1,200 active users. It's a fairly large-sized deployment using about 350 access points. And then here's another example where we have a municipal Wi-Fi deployment. This is a fairly large-sized deployment. This is an Italian city, Cesena, which has done a municipal Wi-Fi deployment, and it's a beach town, so they have about 1,000 access points all over the city and the beach to deploy municipal Wi-Fi or public Wi-Fi. And if you look closely at the picture on the left and on the right, you'll see one of our little outdoor access points there, just to the right of the light fixture and just to the right of the pole. UniFi is the fastest growing wireless LAN platform in the world in 2012. And according to the research firm Gartner, we were the fastest growing provider of wireless LAN technologies in 2012. We've seen incredible growth in this product line, and we've had a tremendous number of users all over the world, as you can see from this map. Now, we're going to turn our attention to the UniFi 3 platform. I'm going to get my co-presenter, Matt Hardy, revved up here in just a second. But just to give you sort of a quick timeline, the UniFi 1 platform was introduced in 2011 and was really focused on sort of basic enterprise-level wireless LAN, controller-based wireless LAN capabilities, and had sort of, I'd say, the important foundation capabilities, VLANs and QoS and some basic reporting, et cetera. The UniFi 2 product was released in 2012, and the key focus there was on guest access and hotspot management. So it added billing support, a voucher system, and customizations to the hotspot manager, so that you had a great degree of flexibility to deploy this for public guest access. With UniFi 3, we've really focused on mobility and scalability. So we really focused on capabilities like multi-site management, which we'll talk about in a moment, a very innovative capability called zero handoff roaming, which enables mobile users to seamlessly migrate between access points, better reporting and analytics so that you can really understand what's going on across a large deployment. So, a number of capabilities that really give you some terrific capabilities for larger deployments, which we're seeing more and more of. So, with that, maybe what we should do is go into some detail. And Matt Hardy, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Matt, you want to talk a little bit about what we're doing with some of these key features in UniFi 3, including multi-site management?
Sure. So the first one, as Dave mentioned, is multi-site management. This is a new feature with UniFi version 3, and it's basically just as the name described it. It's pretty self-explanatory. Multiple sites can now be managed with the same UniFi controller. This is important if you've used UniFi before, UniFi version 2 or previous versions. Each site that you had a UniFi deployment at required its own controller. Now with UniFi version 3, you can install multiple sites, different locations, different configurations, all with the same controller software. So if you have one location where you install UniFi at a coffee shop, and another location you install UniFi at a library, and they require different settings, different users, you can do it all from the same UniFi installation instead of having to install separate installations at each location. So very flexible. You can also add specific users and administrators to each location. So if you want to give that coffee shop operator a user for their account, they can log in without having access to other locations. So it's very flexible. Okay, next slide. The next feature that we're going to talk about for UniFi version 3 is the zero handoff roaming feature. This is very important for latency based applications like voice and video, where any kind of disconnection or traffic interruption it could cause lots of problems. The main problem with wireless communication regarding this is in wireless, the client device usually controls all of the logic for which access point it connects to. And this can become a problem when a client device connects to one access point and maybe, like a laptop or a soft phone walks to another part of the building and is still connected to that same access point, even if the signal is poor or quality is poor. When in some cases it could be connected to another access point with a lot better signal and better quality. Unfortunately, with a lot of devices, the client device isn't smart enough to move to the other access point. And when it does move, it disconnects and reassociates and causes traffic loss. With UniFi version 3, we introduced what we call zero handoff roaming. And basically what this means is the access points communicate with each other and decide which access points certain clients should be associated to. And if the access points decide that one of the clients could be better served on another access point, they decide amongst each other to simply hand off that client to the other access point. And the way we do this is hand it off so that it's completely transparent to the end user. The client device doesn't even know that it was transferred to another access point. It thinks it's still on the same one. So there's no disconnection, no traffic loss. It's a very elegant way to handle this roaming. And just one more thing to add. When we say zero handoff roaming, that's exactly what we mean. A lot of people ask us, what kind of traffic loss do you see? Is there any kind of latency spike or increase? In our testing, there should be zero performance hit or loss when a client roams between access points. Okay, next slide. With UniFi version 3, we added more detailed analytics and reporting. We already had a lot of reporting with UniFi version 2, but one thing I wanted to discuss with this slide is the new historical data that we collect. We call it insights. I don't know if you can see it very well in this screenshot, but in the far right tab, there's far right of that screenshot, you can see a new tab called Insights. And this is new in version 3. We can now collect how many times certain users connect or disconnect and keep history over those users. Okay, next slide. And a few more highlights, which we're going to go over. I'll discuss quickly WLAN groups, rogue APs. We also support now SNMP for the access points. So if you have your own monitoring system, you can integrate the UniFi access points into now, and as well improved load balancing. So we'll discuss WLAN groups next, I believe. Okay. So the next group, next feature, this was a pretty popular feature request we had, and we were able to add this in UniFi version 3, WLAN groups. In some cases, it's necessary to have multiple groups of configurations in the same site. By default, UniFi allows one configuration of up to 4 SSIDs at a time. And when you apply that configuration, it automatically updates all access points in that site. If you have a few special access points that maybe need different SSIDs or an extra SSID or something like that, you can actually add it to a separate group in that site and have completely separate SSID, VLAN settings for that group of access points. Okay, next slide. Rogue AP detection. This is also a popular request that we had. Rogue APs can present a security threat for your network. If you have an enterprise network of open access points and you have maybe some customers maybe up to no good and install their own open access point with the same SSID, and other customers may connect to that rogue access point, and that attacker, the rogue access point, can collect that user's information and sensitive data. So with UniFi version 3, we added rogue AP detection. So if there's another access point installed on your network with the same SSID or settings, we can actually detect this and warn you about it. In UniFi version 3, we also added improved load balancing. One of the problems with these dense wireless deployments is sometimes you may have an access point and too many users connect to it when there are other access points nearby with available time slots, I guess. In this example, you can see there are 50 clients associated to one access point when there are only 10 associated to the access point near it. And in this case, we're able to actually convince some of the clients to connect to the other access point and spread that out. And it really helps to load balance access points like this, because if you have too many clients on one AP, it can cause performance degradation. Okay. David, did you want me to keep going, or did you want to talk about this? David?
Sorry about that. I muted myself. Matt, why don't you're on a roll. Why don't you keep going? And for those of you online, just a quick reminder, feel free to ask questions in the Q&A panel, or some of you are doing it in the chat, and that's fine too. And we're going to start taking questions in just a few minutes.
Okay, so this slide is pretty self-explanatory. We just started shipping the new 802.11ac access point. You're probably familiar with this already. I just received mine today, so I'm pretty excited to set it up. As it mentions, up to 1,300 megabits per second and 5 gigahertz bands. It is 3x3 MIMO. Does support the 802.3 AT PoE standard, and is under $300. And it's shipping, so get your orders in. And as you may have noticed, we did perform a third-party test from the Tolly Group, comparing the actual performance for the UAP AC product compared to other popular products in the market. And some highlights that UniFi AP-AC performed 46% faster than competitive 11N products, and 10% faster with 11N to 11N apples to apples comparison.
Great. And by the way, for those of you that are interested, you can download this report for free off the UBNT website. Just go to the UniFi area and click on the What's New tab, and you'll be able to download this report and see all of the data. So with that, thank you, Matt. That was great. And what we'll do now is turn to some Q&A. I've noticed we've had a bunch of great questions, so we'll just start taking them from the top. And Matt, feel free to chime in here. And we've got Jerry online as well, and he can help answer some of these questions. So the first one is it possible to have zero handoff with a guest SSID with open security? And Matt, do you want to try to answer that, or?
Oops, couldn't find my unmute button. Jerry, can you confirm that?
Sure. Right now, it's not possible. The L2, the zero handoff wireless group has to be, it will be set up as WPA2 and ES, and you cannot mix that with open yet. But that's on our roadmap.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. There have been a couple of other zero handoff questions. So does zero handoff roaming work by using the same MAC address on all APs, or is there some other trick to make the client not realize which one they're using? So maybe, Jerry, if you don't mind, you can handle that one as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's using the same BSS and it's on the same channel, same HD20, right? Same HD20. And so from client's perspective, it's one single AP. It doesn't see multiple APs.
Right. And so we're not spoofing MAC IDs, I think was sort of the question as well, right?
We are not spoofing the SSIDs?
No, actually, I think the question was about the MAC address.
Yeah,
so,
the MAC address, I think that's referring to the BSSID.
Right, yeah. Oh, right. Okay, it says, so here's another question. If the signal is stronger to another UniFi access point, but there are more hops back to the gateway router, will the UniFi access point know which one to create a wireless mesh to? So I think that's sort of a hybrid of a mesh question and a zero handoff roaming question.
UniFi isn't really a mesh product, so with UniFi, you typically won't be seeing dealing with hops, wireless hops. It's basically a layer 2 access point solution. And right now, the max number of hops you'll deal with is 1. So there's not any kind of algorithm for determining best route or anything like that.
Correct. And there was a related question which Matt, I think you just answered about is meshing with the AP supported, or is it just one LAN uplink? And basically, you can do kind of a one hop uplink. So you can have an AP that uplinks to another AP, which is then connected on a wired back to your wired network. Okay, there have been a bunch of questions about the date of the final release of the version 3 software, and I'll take sort of the first stab at that. But Jerry, feel free to chime in. The version 3 software today is in what you might think of as open beta. It's been used in private beta for quite some time, so we're feeling pretty good about the capabilities and stability. So we do have some customers who have decided that they are willing to put this into full production, even though it's technically speaking still an open beta. But Jerry, do you want to talk for just a sec about what you think the ETA is for kind of the full quote-unquote stable GA release?
I think we are looking into Q3, probably August or September. But right now, the beta is, I would say, it's pretty solid. We have nailed very much all the bugs. We have that running for a few of our houses and also in our offices. So we have it running on actually a lot of customers using that already.
Okay. Great, thanks. There's a question about are all of the version 3 features supported by the UAP LR? And I believe the answer to that is yes. Is that correct,
Yes.
Jerry?
That's correct.
Okay. There is a caveat that you should be aware of, however, which is not all of the version 3 features are currently supported by the new UAP AC. And in particular, the one that is not supported yet that most people are interested in is zero handoff roaming. So today, version 3 zero handoff roaming and the UAP AC are mutually exclusive. Obviously, we're working hard to implement support for zero handoff on the UniFi UAP AC product. But right now, you should just be aware that those two things are not compatible yet. Okay, let's see here. We'll take a few other questions. Let's see. What type of, let's see, just scroll here. What type of performance degradation can I expect with one radio AP's 4 slaves to 1 master? Jerry, do you want to take a stab at that one? Oops, or Matt, maybe?
What was the question for?
Oh, the question was about what type of performance degradation can I expect with one single radio access points with 4 slaves to 1 master? I think that's a wired uplink related question.
Okay, yeah, if you have one access point connected to 4 other access points as slaves, it really depends on activity, how active they are. If they're not very active, you won't see any kind of performance degradation. I guess it's kind of a theoretical question, but if you have one client connected to the uplinked client access point and you run a throughput test, you may see less than what you see if you connect directly to the main access point. And typically people say 50% because that uplinked client is half duplex. It has to receive and transmit. And that's one reason why we only go one level deep with the uplink. But typically it works pretty well, and your clients won't see much performance degradation.
Okay, this is a question for you, Matt. This is hopefully a fairly easy one. There's a question about will there be a white paper, quote unquote, on details of multi-site management. So, basically, where can you find out more details about how to deploy multi-site management? So, implementation, firewall issues, etc.
Good question. If you have any specific things you'd like to see, we can definitely put something together. We have done some. We did a video tutorial on describing the feature. But if you want to see something in more detail, specifically something like firewalls and multi-site management, we can put an article together.
Great. And then this is sort of, I think, a slightly related question about multi-site management. Is it possible using the UniFi 3 software for multiple sites to share registered users? So in other words, if I have location 1, location 2, and location 3, can I have like a user who can log in at any of the 3 locations?
By default, the users are separate for each site. You can do some other things, maybe with a central radius server and control your users that way, and then have each site tie into that. It's probably the best way to do it.
Okay. And since you brought up radius, there's a question about when you use UniFi for billing and hotspot authentication, can you use your existing radius server to do that?
Yeah, UniFi does support that, so you can tie the UniFi hotspot into that if that's what you already have. It supports that for authentication.
Great. Let's see here. There was a question about are all UniFi products supported with version 3, including the Pico Station M2?
Yeah, everything is.
Yeah, so I believe the answer to that is absolutely yes, with the single caveat about some of the feature support on the UniFi AC product in the short term. Okay. Oh, I think I have another sort of softball question. Can a sector antenna be used with the outdoor APs?
Yeah, actually, that's pretty common for outdoor deployments. The Omni, dual polarity Omni, as well as the dual polarity sector, the rocket sector, it's pretty popular with customers and UniFi Outdoor.
Right. Okay. There have been a bunch of questions, Matt, about the hotspot support and sort of the guest access capabilities. Do you mind just spending a minute describing some of the flexibility we have around hotspot management and customization for the guest portals?
Yeah, sure. I wish I had some screenshots to go through. It would be easy to describe all the features. But I think the best thing about the hotspot controller in UniFi is how easy it is to set up. You don't have to install any additional software. You don't have to be a coding expert or anything like that. You don't even have to install a Radius server. Everything is controlled from within the UniFi software. And if you want to customize the portal, we provide a simple directory in the UniFi server where you can edit the file, change text around, add images. It's very easy to do, and you don't have to be a software developer to modify that. At the same time, it's flexible enough to where if you are a software developer, you can do some pretty advanced things. So I think that's the main thing I would bring up is how easy it is to do that. Were there any other specific questions?
No, that was it. But maybe we'll get a follow up. Back to zero handoff roaming. There's a question: does zero handoff require all the APs to be set to the same channel? And the answer to that one is definitely yes. And then there's a sort of a related question. It says we have arrow hives on the same SSID. But Wi-Fi Analyzer on Android can see all the APs in range and lists them under SSID by MAC address. Are you saying that multiple units would show up as one SSID in Wi-Fi Analyzer? So I think that basically, like if you use ArrowHive and you use something like Wi-Fi Analyzer, you get a list of every AP, even though they show the same SSID. I think that's what this means. The question is, if we have zero handoff roaming, do you really only see one SSID or do you see multiple?
I haven't tried that. Jerry can confirm, but I believe that they'll show up as just one.
Yes.
Yeah, so Jerry, that's correct, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let's see, there's a question related to get back to hotspots. How does the UniFi software handle billing, and can it process credit card transactions or only use a voucher system?
We do have the option to provide your customers a credit card way to pay with different plans. Initially, we supported PayPal Pro. I believe we just added support for some other payment vendors, but there is definitely credit card support built in.
Great. Let's see here. There's a question around does Ubiquiti plan to release an outdoor dual band access point? And while we haven't announced publicly any plans to do that, I think that would be a really excellent idea. And we really like excellent ideas. Okay. Here's another question. Is there true network isolation between the corporate network and the guest Wi-Fi? This question is to address HIPAA and PCI compliance.
Typically, most people do that is with VLANs. You can separate each SSID onto different VLANs, which will separate all broadcast traffic from the users. So you essentially be on different virtual networks.
Okay. There was a question about essentially municipal Wi-Fi. Do we have any examples of municipal Wi-Fi deployments? And certainly we covered one briefly in this presentation, a town in Italy. I got an email from a customer the other day who was talking about a 5,000 AP municipal Wi-Fi deployment on the west coast of Africa. It's for the largest city in the country of Benin. And we have lots of examples of municipal Wi-Fi deployments. Okay, let's see here. We'll get back to a little bit of feature questions. So we talked a little bit about the rogue access point detection. There's a question about, can you block rogue access points?
It's not really possible to block external devices. If someone wanted, they can plug in another access point. There's not much you can do about it, but at least now you have the capability of knowing it's there, and then maybe you can do something about it physically.
Okay, and then there was a related question, which is, what is the maximum number of devices and user logins per controller software install?
Maybe Jerry can answer that one. I don't know if there's a hard limit.
We did do some simulations. So take it as a rule of thumb. If you run a small Amazon instance, I think that will handle up to 1,000 access points and probably 5,000 users. And if you run a medium instance, I think that will handle up to 2,000 access points and 10,000 users. And the number is more proportional to the users than the number of access points.
Great. There's a question about, is there an outdoor unit on the roadmap for the 802.11ac, or basically an outdoor 802.11ac access point? And again, we haven't announced anything publicly about that, but that's also a really good idea. And we're in the business of following up on those really good ideas. Let's see, there's a couple of questions here about getting back to guest access. That seems to be a big theme today. Is the portal fully automated, and can it use PayPal? This is for the guest portal.
PayPal support built in, integrates directly with PayPal Pro.
Okay. Let's see here. This is an interesting question. It says, in France, we need to log the MAC ID or the MAC address of the client and IP of the site. Is there a way to do that? So it's like a logging and reporting question.
Yes, actually, starting from V3, you will see all the guest authorizations, when they connected, when they log off, how much traffic they transmitted, the last IP address, and the last AP they connected to. So those are all in the past, in the insights or the past guest authorizations. You can all see that.
Okay. There's a question about the adoption of 802.11ac. It says here, do you know any manufacturer that will actually be using the 802.11ac standard other than Dell's Alienware, Asus, and Apple this fall? I think you can expect that actually every manufacturer of both client devices, so phones, tablets, computers, etc., will move to 802.11ac over the next 18 months. If you look at the chip forecasts from people like Broadcom, or if you look at the adoption forecasts from industry analyst firms, that they are all predicting a fairly rapid migration to 802.11ac. And you're already starting to see that. You know, the Samsung Galaxy S4 mobile phone was sort of the first very popular mobile phone to support 802.11ac. We have a couple in the office, and I'll tell you, when you hook that up to an 802.11ac access point, those things just scream. Just an incredible amount of throughput. And of course, now that's like a competitive differentiator for them, but that will be short-lived. So I think you'll see, you'll see very rapid adoption of AC on client devices, like I say, over the next, 18 months at the outside. Okay, there was a question, and I guess this one I'll answer. There's a question about how's product availability doing, and we've been very fortunate that there's been, that the UniFi product line has been incredibly successful, and truthfully, that's led to some inventory availability issues, but we're rapidly getting those things sorted out, and we're making them as fast as we can. So what I would caution you to do is to try to plan ahead a little bit, just to make sure that you give us, you give yourself enough lead time to find the inventory. But the inventory situation globally is improving rapidly. Okay. Let's see. Even though somebody thinks this might be off topic, I think we should give it a shot. It says, if adding an antenna extension cable to an outdoor APs, do cables need to be the same length, or is the unit designed only to work with the antenna supplied?
Is this for LMR type cables? Do they both need to be the same, since it's
I think this is sort of more a question of can you basically put an antenna on an extension cable tied to one of our outdoor APs?
Definitely they do make outdoor cable. It used to be more common. It's not as common anymore since the antenna snaps directly to the outdoor unit, but it is something that customers do. So yeah, definitely it's possible.
Okay, great. Let's see here. This is a good question. Maybe, Jerry, this is one for you. Will there be a way to schedule Wi-Fi access for users or groups in upcoming versions? So I guess, sort of timed access.
We don't have that yet, but we have received that request many times, and that's our roadmap.
Okay. It's another interesting question. Maybe, Jerry, you can answer this, or Matt, you might be able to. Somebody says, I live in Arizona. What type of heat will these APs take? So that's what's the heat tolerance for these access points?
I think it should be on the data sheet.
Yeah, I would suggest you go to the ubiquiti.com website, and on the UniFi page, there's a data sheet which has the specifications, and one of the specs is the temperature range that the products are rated for.
But these are tested pretty extreme ranges. I think down to -40 C, and not sure the max.
Yeah, and I know we have customers all over the world, including some who have deployed our products in very extreme climates, more extreme than Arizona. So, I'd feel pretty comfortable that we'd be able to support, even the heat of Arizona. Okay, we have time for maybe just a few more questions. Let's see here. Here's a great question. Do you have the possibility to restrict user bandwidth if they exceed a certain amount? So, can you basically give people sort of bandwidth, megabyte, or gigabyte bandwidth limits? This is from a user who has some schools, and basically they don't want their students, doing massive BitTorrent downloads, or maybe, downloading too many movies, etc.
So for each wireless network SSID, you can actually apply a user group, which is the bandwidth limiting. So you can limit the uplink or the downlink bandwidth, the speed. So that's doable. And also for the guest portal, you can actually do a little bit more, like quota, like for 24 hours, you want to give the user a certain amount of bandwidth. So that's also doable.
Okay. And it looks like we have a couple of AirMax customers on, and some of them want to know, can you use the UniFi firmware on a NanoStation M2? And then there was sort of a related question, can AirMax stations be added to the UniFi controller?
No, it's not possible to convert the AirMax devices to UniFi except for the Pico station. And the same vice versa. It's not possible to load the AirMax firmware onto the UniFi devices.
Okay, and just for some of you that may have joined sort of halfway through, we had a few registration problems, so apologies for that. But this session's been recorded, and we'll get the recording out as quickly as we can so you can catch up on what you missed. Let's see here. There's a question about the UAP AC, and when will it be shipping in the UK? And we are in mass production shipping for the UniFi AC AP, so you should be able to order one. Okay, I think we've got time for maybe one or two more questions. Jerry, maybe I'll throw this one to you. When 802.11ac gets officially ratified, do you think it'll be just a software upgrade and maybe a firmware upgrade, or do you think that there may be a hardware change required?
I'm not 100% certain, but from now it looks like it should be able to be more compatible.
Okay, I would say because there's only a small number of chip makers for the 802.11ac chipset, and they have worked together very closely on interoperability. I would say the likelihood that the final version can be done in software is pretty high. Obviously, it's not 1,000% certain, but I would say it's a very high likelihood. Okay, let's see here. Maybe we can try to finish off on one last question. Let's see here. Let's try to pick. Oh, here we have a great question to finish up on, and the question is the version 3 a free upgrade? And I'll take that one. Part of what makes the UniFi product line so different and so affordable is that our controller software is provided bundled with our hardware. So there's no incremental software license fees, there's no ongoing software maintenance, there's no subscription fees of any kind. If you buy one of our access points, you get our controller software bundled with it at no additional cost. And if you are an existing user of our access points, then all of our new software releases are available to you for free download. And so you can just go to download.ubnt.com or go to ubnt.com and click on the download link in the footer and have access to all of our software updates completely free of charge. So for those of you that are interested in trying this out, you can go to ubnt.com and download the software. So that brings us right to the top of the hour. I want to thank you all for joining us. And for those of you that had to go through a little bit of registration troubles, apologies, and thanks for sort of persevering through it. If you joined a few minutes late, this session is being recorded, and we will get a recording out and notify you via email and probably in the forums as well, so that those of you that want to either rewatch this or those of you that want to catch up on something you might have missed, you'll be able to do that. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Matt and Jerry and the rest of the team. Appreciate you attending and helping to answer questions. And thanks to all of our attendees. Some great questions. So thank you very much and have a great day.
Thanks, David.